You ever been judged before you even opened your mouth? Before they even knew your name? Well, tonight's story is about exactly that. What started as a night out quickly spiraled into a moment of humiliation. But what happens next? Let's just say, you won't believe who's holding the keys at the end. This is the story of Malcolm King, a man who built an empire from the ground up, only to be reminded even at the top that some people only see skin, not success. But what they didn't realize is that Malcolm doesn't take humiliation lightly, especially when he's got the power to flip the script. It was a cool Friday night in Miami. Neon lights flickered across Ocean Drive, music poured out of bars, and the lines outside the hottest clubs stretched around the block. Inside a sleek black Escalade, Malcolm King adjusted his cufflinks, checking his reflection in the rearview mirror. He was dressed in a custom midnight blue suit, Rolex shining under the subtle interior lights. To the world, he looked like success wrapped in elegance. But to Malcolm, this night was just a chance to unwind. After months of grinding, finalizing another tech acquisition, overseeing charity projects, and mentoring young entrepreneurs, he was finally taking a break. His longtime friend Reggie had convinced him to hit up the Illume, the most exclusive rooftop club in South Beach. Celebs, moguls, influencers. Only the creme de la creme made it past the velvet ropes. "I told you, Mal, they're expecting us," Reggie said confidently as they pulled up. "I got us a VIP table, bottle service, the works." Malcolm nodded. "As long as they got good music, I'm good." As they stepped out of the SUV, heads turned. People whispered, trying to place Malcolm's face. Some recognized him from Forbes. Others just saw two well-dressed black men walking with purpose. They approached the front entrance where the velvet rope separated the sidewalk from the stairs leading up. A massive bouncer, bald and scowling, stood guard with a clipboard in hand. The line of hopefuls wrapped behind them, full of women in glittery dresses and men flexing gold chains and cologne. Reggie spoke first. "Reggie Brooks. VIP table under my name." The bouncer scanned the list, nodded, and unhooked the rope slightly. But when Malcolm stepped forward, the bouncer held up a hand. Whoa. He with you?" Reggie blinked. "Yeah, that's Malcolm. We're together." The bouncer's eyes scanned Malcolm slowly. "Sorry? Can't let him in." "What?" Malcolm said, half laughing. "I'm on the list. We're at the same table." "Nah," the bouncer said with a cold edge. "VIP has a strict dress code and guest policy. He doesn't meet it." Malcolm looked down at himself. "I'm wearing a suit tailored in Milan." "Doesn't matter," the bouncer snapped. "Not my call." Reggie tried to step in. "Man, come on. This is ridiculous." A second bouncer approached. "Is there a problem?" That's when Malcolm noticed them. The subtle smirks. The way the first bouncer's eyes narrowed. This wasn't about dress code. It wasn't about a list. This was about something else. People in the line had started filming. "Yo, they won't let him in," one woman whispered. "Isn't that the dude from Black Tech Summit?" Humiliation crept into Malcolm's chest like fire. He looked the bouncer dead in the eye. "What's your name?" "You don't need to know my name," the bouncer replied smugly. "Oh, but I do," Malcolm said, his voice calm. "Because in about 48 hours your whole world's gonna change." The second bouncer scoffed. "You threatening us?" "No," Malcolm said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm offering you a heads up." Reggie pulled at his arm. "Let's just bounce, bro. This ain't worth it." But Malcolm didn't move. He stood for a moment, letting the humiliation settle. Letting the cameras roll. Letting every eye on the sidewalk soak in the scene. Then he turned and walked to the car. As the Escalade door closed behind him, the bouncer chuckled and waved in the next group. But that chuckle wouldn't last long. That night, Malcolm couldn't sleep. The insult gnawed at him. It wasn't just the rejection. It was the quiet, sneering racism behind it. The unspoken rule that said no matter how successful you are, someone's always waiting to remind you that you still don't belong. But what they didn't know was that Malcolm didn't just have money, he had connections, resources, and a whole lot of pride. He picked up the phone. "Get me Marcus Chong." Marcus was a top-tier real estate consultant in South Florida, and more importantly, Malcolm's old college roommate. "Malcolm? Man, it's late. You still got ties with the owners of the Illume?" Marcus groaned. "What happened?" Malcolm explained everything, and when he was done, Marcus was silent. "Yeah," he said finally. "I know one of the guys. He's been trying to offload his stake for months. Wants to cash out and go digital. I want in, Malcolm said. No. Scratch that, I want all of it. You trying to buy a club just because some racist meathead didn't let you in? I'm buying a message, Malcolm replied. One that lasts longer than a lawsuit. Over the next 24 hours, Malcolm activated a network that would make the FBI jealous. By morning, legal teams were reviewing the property lease. By afternoon, financial analysts were auditing the Illumin's revenue streams. By Sunday night, Malcolm had a private meeting scheduled with the club's top investors at a high-rise penthouse. Sitting at the polished glass table, Malcolm laid out his offer, one that none of them could refuse. His proposal not only offered a cash buyout but plans to convert the club into a luxury tech-meets-music experience powered by AI guest lists, blockchain-based ticketing, and cultural inclusivity. The investors nodded, impressed. One leaned forward. And what about the staff? Malcolm smiled. We'll be replacing a few, starting with security. By Monday morning, the papers were signed. Malcolm King was now the sole owner of the Illumin. But he wasn't done. He wanted an event. A statement. He called Reggie. You ready to go back to the club? Reggie laughed. Man, you serious? Oh, I'm dead serious, Malcolm said. Tell every influencer, every artist, every black-owned business in Miami. I want them there Friday night. VIP only. Reggie whistled. It's gonna be a scene. Malcolm leaned back in his chair. That's the idea. The week flew by. Social media buzzed as invitations were sent out under the radar. By Friday, the new management had announced a surprise grand reopening event, exclusive invite only. And then came Friday night. A line wrapped around the block. Flashing lights, red carpet, cameras. But this time, Malcolm didn't pull up in an Escalade. He arrived in a custom Maybach, stepped out in a white tuxedo, and walked directly to the front door. The new head of security, a black woman named Tanya with a law enforcement background, stepped aside and smiled. Mr. King. Welcome to your club. Malcolm nodded. Let's get this started. But just as he stepped inside, there was a commotion behind him. The original bouncer, the one who denied him entry, was standing in line, dressed in all black, confused. What is this? He barked. They told me to report here tonight. Tanya stepped forward. You're not on the list. What? The bouncer growled. I've been here for years. This is my door. Malcolm turned slowly. No, he said, his voice echoing like thunder. It was your door. Now it's mine. The crowd murmured. The bouncer's eyes narrowed. You bought the club? Malcolm leaned in. I bought the club, the name, the lease, and your job. The bouncer's face twisted. You think you can just erase me? But before Malcolm could reply, there was a loud crash from the side alley. Screams. Glass shattering. Tanya's radio crackled. We got a breach. Someone just forced open the side entrance. Malcolm turned sharply. His eyes darkened. Security lockdown, now. And as the music cut and the lights flickered, Malcolm pushed through the crowd toward the commotion. What he saw next made his blood run cold. Standing in the broken hallway was someone he thought he'd left in his past. Someone who wasn't supposed to be in the city, let alone at his club. Hello, Malcolm, the man said with a grin. Long time no see. Malcolm stood frozen for a split second, his heart pounding, fists clenched at his sides. The club behind him buzzed with confusion, music paused, murmurs growing louder. In front of him, backlit by broken glass and the dim glow of emergency exit lights, stood the last person he ever expected to see again, Darius Kane. Years ago they'd been partners, co-founders of a tech startup that made them both rich. But Darius had betrayed him. Stolen code, lied to investors, burned bridges. Malcolm took the high road, bought him out, and walked away. He thought that chapter was closed. But now, Darius was standing in the hallway of Malcolm's newly acquired nightclub, smirking like the devil. Surprised? Darius said, brushing glass off his designer blazer. Didn't think I'd show up to your little victory party? Malcolm stepped forward, Tanya flanking him with her radio raised. You broke in through the side entrance. That's trespassing. I don't take orders from bodyguards, Darius snapped. Besides, this place used to be my playground. You remember that, right? Before you started playing CO. This isn't some old Miami lounge, Darius. This is my club now, Malcolm said calmly. And you're not on the list. Oh, I'm about to be, Darius said, holding up a tablet. Because you just inherited a very big problem, Malcolm. One buried in this club's paperwork, and let's just say, it's the kind of thing that tanks businesses overnight. Malcolm narrowed his eyes. You're bluffing. Darius grinned wider. Ever heard of Shellcore Holdings? Front company out of the Caymans? They technically still own a 12% stake in this club. Which means, you don't have full control like you thought. Malcolm's jaw tightened. He'd reviewed the papers. His team had swept the deal. Had they missed something? Tanya stepped forward. Do we need to remove him, Mr. King? Malcolm held up a hand. No. Let him talk. Darius straightened up, pleased. See, here's the deal. This place has potential. But I've been watching your little stunt, buying the club out of spite? That's small thinking. I've got something bigger in mind. And I'm offering you a deal. Malcolm shook his head slowly. Why would I ever do business with a snake like you? Because, Darius said, leaning in, voice low and taunting, if you don't, I'll leak what I know. About the permit fraud, the unpaid licensing fees, the shady labor contracts the previous owner buried. The city will shut you down in a week. Behind them, people began peeking into the hallway. Reggie appeared at the edge, his face confused. Yo, what's going on? Malcolm turned to Tanya. Clear the hallway. Get everyone back inside. Restart the music. Tanya nodded and signaled her team. Darius clapped once, sarcastically. Still the showman, I see. But make no mistake, Malcolm, I'm not here to party. I'm here to take back what I lost. And I'm gonna do it by showing everyone just how fragile your empire really is. Malcolm didn't flinch. You haven't changed. Still arrogant. Still dirty. Oh, I've changed, Darius replied, pulling a USB from his pocket and dropping it into Malcolm's hand. That's just a taste. Check it tonight. If you want to save this place, you'll call me. And with that, Darius turned and walked out through the broken exit door, disappearing into the night like a ghost from Malcolm's past. By the time the music resumed and the party rolled on, Malcolm was back in his office suite above the dance floor. The USB sat on the table like a ticking bomb. Reggie burst in, face tense. Bro, what the hell was that? Was that Darius? Malcolm nodded. He's trying to blackmail me. With what? Old contracts, claims he's got ownership documents. Might be bluffing, might be real. Reggie ran a hand through his hair. That dude is poison, man. You remember what he did back in New York? I remember everything, Malcolm said. But if he's got any piece of this club, no matter how small, I need to know. I'm not gonna let this empire I built get pulled apart by someone I buried years ago. Reggie hesitated. So what now? I find the cracks. I fix them before he can turn them into sinkholes. Later that night, Malcolm plugged the USB into his private laptop. Encrypted files popped up. Financial audits, email threads, scanned signatures from investors who were supposed to have been bought out. One name kept popping up. Victor Langston, a silent partner tied to Shellcore. Malcolm's blood chilled. Victor Langston was a real estate shark with rumored mob ties. If Darius had reactivated Victor, this wasn't just a paperwork issue. It could get dangerous. The next morning, Malcolm met with Marcus Chong. We missed it, Marcus admitted, furious. Shellcore masked the ownership through multiple holding companies. It looked like a clean buyout, but if Darius dug up an old clause that reinstates Victor's interest. I don't care if Victor owns 12% or 2%, Malcolm said. I want him out. Quietly. Legally. Victor doesn't do things quietly, Marcus warned. And if Darius is working with him again, it's gonna get ugly. I don't care, Malcolm said. He humiliated me once. I won't let him do it again. I'll buy Victor out, rewrite the deal, burn the paper trail if I have to. Meanwhile, Darius wasn't idle. By Monday morning, blogs and gossip sites lit up with a new headline. The Illume faces legal trouble after new black owner exposed in shady buyout. The article quoted anonymous sources, likely planted by Darius, claiming Malcolm was under investigation, that his purchase was rushed, and that the city council might revoke the club's license. Social media buzzed. Some called it sabotage. Others speculated it was racism disguised as regulation. At a city permit board hearing later that week, Malcolm showed up in a tailored gray suit, flanked by lawyers. As reporters swarmed, he offered no comment. Inside the hearing, a surprise witness was called, none other than Victor Langston himself. Victor, calm and smug, took the stand. I was never properly compensated for my interest in the club. I retained legal rights, and I believe Mr. King's team knowingly circumvented my contract. The judge frowned. Mr. King, do you have evidence of a full buyout? Malcolm's lead counsel stood. Your Honor, we request a continuance to review the legitimacy of Mr. Langston's claims. The judge sighed. Granted. But this matter is serious. If it's found that the acquisition violated existing shareholder agreements, the license could be suspended. Outside the courtroom, reporters pounced. Mr. King, is it true you illegally acquired the Illume? Are you being targeted because of your race? Malcolm stopped at the top of the courthouse steps. His jaw clenched. I didn't build my name to be smeared by ghosts from my past. When I'm done, they won't question my ownership, they'll fear it. That night, Malcolm gathered his entire legal team, PR reps and financial analysts. We're going to expose everything. Darius Shellcore Victor. I want a digital trail traced, phone logs pulled, even trash bins if necessary. Reggie pulled him aside after. You good man? This is more than a club now. This is war. Malcolm stared out the window, watching Miami lights shimmer below. I didn't want war, he whispered. But they brought it to my door. 3 days later, Tanya reported in. We tracked a suspicious payment from Shellcore to a private server farm in Colombia. Looks like Darius is funneling data to blackmail multiple people, not just you. Malcolm's eyes narrowed. Then we use that. Turn the pressure back on them. But just as Tanya handed over the report, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then looked up with alarm. Malcolm, we've got a situation. He turned. What now? She held up her phone. Someone just hacked our guest list server. VIP identities, payment info, addresses. It's all been leaked online. Malcolm froze. No, he muttered. Tanya nodded grimly. It's Darius. He just went nuclear. The air inside Malcolm's private suite turned heavy as Tanya's words echoed. Darius just went nuclear. Malcolm stared at the phone screen. His VIP guest list was plastered across social media like a billboard. Celebrities, athletes, politicians, even federal agents who had slipped through the Illume's velvet rope were now exposed. It wasn't just a breach of privacy, it was an assault on trust. Malcolm's phone buzzed like a jackhammer. Texts from agents, threats of lawsuits, celebrities pulling their appearances, a panicked message from Reggie, TMZ's outside. Bro, it's bad. Malcolm stood still for a moment, fists clenched, jaw tight. Then he turned to Tanya. Get Marcus. Get the cyber team. And call an emergency meeting. We clean this up, fast. In less than an hour, the war room inside Malcolm's downtown condo lit up with faces. Marcus, red-eyed and frantic, slammed his laptop shut. This was coordinated. Darius used a shell server to hit our weakest point, the customer management app. All encrypted before, but he cracked it through a backdoor he probably built years ago. Malcolm's eyes darkened. He knew how we worked. He helped us design some of those early systems even before the club. Tanya added, he's not working alone. That leak was perfectly timed with news cycles. Look, page 6, Shade Room, even CNBC are picking it up. They're calling it the club leak scandal. Reggie muttered, they're dragging your name, bro, talking about how you should have stayed out of VIP rooms. Malcolm took a breath. Okay, they want war? Let's give it to them. Tanya, shut down the server. Pull the plug. All guest services go analog until further notice. Marcus, go into our archives, find the oldest server logs we have from the original design team. If Darius left a trapdoor, I want to expose it. And Reggie, Malcolm turned to his boyhood friend, get me a meeting with Victor Langston. Off the books. One-on-one. No security. Reggie blinked. That's a suicide mission. I need to know what Darius promised him. I need leverage. Hours later, in a cigar lounge deep in the Miami district, Malcolm sat across from Victor Langston, who wore a gray tailored suit and had a smile colder than steel. I wondered when you'd crawl in here, Victor said, sipping a whiskey. That list leak caused a lot of noise. Not a good look for a man trying to be king. Malcolm kept his gaze locked. I know Darius offered you something. Probably equity in a new venture, maybe a slice of my downfall. But I'm offering something better. Silence. And control. Victor chuckled. You think I'm in this for the money? Son, I'm in this for the power. That club is leverage. Black-owned, influential clientele, all eyes on it. That's more valuable than your little buyout. Malcolm leaned in. Then name your price. You want a stake in something real? I'm working on a tech rollout, private encrypted networks for high-profile clients. Discreet security. VIP-level digital concierge. The Illume was just the first phase. But I need the club stable to scale. Victor raised an eyebrow. And you want me quiet while you scale this empire? I want you on the outside looking in. Silently paid. Never seen. Never mentioned. Victor nodded slowly. You're bold. Just like your father. Malcolm stiffened. You knew my father? Victor's eyes twinkled. You think this city's legacy wasn't shaped by men like him? Your father tried to build clean wealth. I watched him nearly drown in it. Malcolm stood. I'm not him. And I don't drown. Victor smirked. We'll see. Back at the Illume, Tanya had gathered new intel. We traced the data breach to a private event in Columbia University. Darius has been speaking to tech grads, recruiting, quietly building a team of coders, whistleblowers, and disruptors. Reggie frowned. Dude's building a startup against you? Malcolm nodded. He's weaponizing everything I once taught him. But he forgot one thing I taught him. That means I know how he thinks. The next morning, Malcolm dropped a bombshell. We're going to rebrand the Illume. New name. New tech. New face. Everyone in the room gasped. Tanya asked, You're blowing it all up? No, Malcolm said, I'm evolving. We can't erase the leak, but we can rebuild the trust. Think of this not as damage control but as a revolution. We'll roll out VIP Black, our encrypted guest network, biometric check-ins, zero digital footprint. We invite the public in, to see we've got nothing to hide. But before plans could finalize, Malcolm's phone rang, Marcus's voice frantic on the other end. It's worse than we thought. Darius just filed an injunction. He's claiming copyright theft, says your new network is based on code he owns from back in your startup days. What? Malcolm barked. He submitted documentation, timestamps, code snippets. If it sticks, it could freeze your assets, including the club. Malcolm's stomach dropped. Tanya ran into the room seconds later. Sir, we have a problem. The city just put a freeze on your business account pending review of the tech ownership claim. That includes payroll, vendors, security, everything. And then, as if on cue, the lights in the office flickered. Screens blinked out. The Illume's security system tripped, doors locking and flashing red. Malcolm stood up, heart pounding. On every screen in the room, a live video feed appeared. Darius's face filled the frame. He was sitting in a high-rise, grinning like he'd already won. Well, Darius said. Looks like the king just lost his crown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths. The chilling smile on Darius's face burned into Malcolm's mind as every screen in his office flickered and died. For a moment there was silence, thick, suffocating. Then Tanya spoke, her voice sharp and clipped. Emergency power's been triggered. Darius didn't just attack our code, he's in our hardware. Our infrastructure. Malcolm clenched his fists. That man used to work in this office. He knows where the bones are buried. Reggie burst in, holding a tablet. Dude just dropped a press release through his new company, Signal Crown Industries. He's claiming he built the biometric encryption software we were about to launch, and get this, he's filing for a federal patent. Tanya's jaw dropped. If he locks that patent, we can't launch VIP Black. It's game over. Malcolm didn't speak. He just stared at the screen, rage boiling under his calm exterior. Get Marcus. We go nuclear. Within an hour, Malcolm's team was holed up in an off-grid command center in a warehouse Malcolm had purchased months ago as part of his expansion vision. He never imagined it'd become a war bunker. Marcus laid out the plan. We fight this in 3 places: legal, digital, and narrative. First, we file an emergency counterclaim to Darius's patent using timestamp development notes from your earliest build. Second, we dig into Signal Crown's investors. Find dirt, find links, find something that makes people question their integrity. Third, we take this story public, but on our terms. Not through gossip blogs. We drop a mini-doc about your rise, your vision, the betrayal, everything. Reggie chimed in. I've already got a contact at Netflix's Black Entrepreneurship series. They might bite if we promise exclusivity. Tanya nodded. And I'll bring in tech journalists from Wired and Fast Company. If we control the media flow, Darius's narrative dies on arrival. But Malcolm raised a finger. There's a fourth front. Personal. Darius took this public, but he forgot something. I know things about him. Things he's buried. Everyone turned to him. I want everything on Darius's past. His connections. His real IP history. Even his financials. No mercy. Meanwhile, in Darius's camp, celebration was already underway. Champagne flowed through sleek fingers as media headlines piled up. Tech maverick Darius King disrupts billionaire's empire. Exclusive. The genius behind VIP Black is not who you think. He stood at the center of it all, smug, sipping his glass. But behind closed doors, one of his new coders, a 19-year-old genius named Eli, was starting to panic. Darius, I've been going through the legacy code and there's a problem. That encryption layer you told me to mirror? It matches timestamp logs in Malcolm's private Git repository. If he pulls that data, we're done. It's proof he wrote it first. Darius's face darkened. Then destroy it. Wipe the source files. Make it look like they never existed. Eli hesitated. That's not legal. Darius stepped closer, his voice cold. Neither is betrayal. Back at Malcolm's command center, Marcus struck gold. We've got it. A private email exchange from 2016. Darius admitted in writing that Malcolm developed the biometric encryption engine solo while Darius was still in undergrad. We found it buried in a mutual friend's email server. That's our smoking gun. Tanya grinned. Let's bury him. The counterclaim was filed within hours, and Malcolm released a bold video on his personal platform. One shot in a sleek monochrome tone, telling his story from the ground up. His journey, his battles, his betrayal. No anger. Just truth. The video went viral within 24 hours. Celebrities started backing him. Tech influencers rallied. Twitter exploded with hashtags like #RealVIPKing and #StandWithMalcolm. But Darius wasn't done. The next morning, a courier delivered a folder to Malcolm's condo. Inside were surveillance photos. Private. Intimate. Of Malcolm meeting with Victor Langston. Of Tanya leaving his penthouse at midnight. Of Marcus logged into restricted systems. A note was attached. You want to play dirty? I can too. Tanya froze. This is blackmail. Malcolm's eyes narrowed. No. This is desperation. Later that day, Marcus burst in. They just served us another injunction. Darius is accusing us of corporate espionage. Says we hacked into his company's servers to get the 2016 email. And now the feds want to talk. Malcolm felt the floor shift beneath him. He's trying to criminalize us. As if the day wasn't chaotic enough, Reggie's voice rang through the intercom. Bro, you need to see this now. Turn on Channel 7. The news anchor's voice was grave. In a stunning development, Signal Crown Industries has announced it is acquiring a controlling interest in several downtown real estate properties, including the building that houses the Illume. Malcolm's heart stopped. What? Tanya gasped. Reggie read from his phone. He just bought the building our club operates in. He's not just trying to steal your vision, he's trying to evict you. Malcolm stood in silence. He turned to the window, staring out at the skyline of a city he once ruled. Tanya whispered, What do we do now? Malcolm didn't blink. We take the gloves off. He turned back to his team. Because now, it's not about the club anymore. It's about everything we built. Our names. Our blood. He stepped forward, calm but deadly. And in the final round, I burn his kingdom to the ground. The air in the war room was heavy with determination. Malcolm stood at the center, calm, dressed in a charcoal suit that screamed quiet power. Tanya sat beside him, her laptop open, her fingers dancing across keys. Marcus was on the phone coordinating with attorneys while Reggie managed a live social media strategy like a general. Malcolm's eyes were glued to a map of the city pinned to the wall, every property Darius had bought marked with a red pin. "He thinks owning the building means owning me," Malcolm said coolly. But he forgot who taught him how to buy. In the days following Darius's hostile press campaign and surprise acquisition of the Illum's building, Malcolm's team launched Operation Reclaim. But it wasn't just a fight for one club, it was about power, legacy, and the truth. First, Tanya uploaded the 2016 email and metadata chain to the blockchain. Impossible to fake. Impossible to erase. Every tech journalist from Forbes to TechCrunch received a copy, along with a comprehensive timeline of Malcolm's development of VIP Black. At the same time, Marcus coordinated with the DOJ, turning over all communications and proving Malcolm's team had retrieved the evidence legally, with consent from a third-party server owned by a shared business associate. The criminal case Darius tried to manufacture? Dismissed within 48 hours. But Malcolm wasn't satisfied. "Time to go public on his biggest lie," he said. Reggie dropped the second part of their story, an exposé on Darius's fabricated education history. His Stanford credentials? He never graduated. His TED Talk? Ghostwritten. Even the core of his new encryption software was simply a modified version of Malcolm's original open-source code. The world turned fast. Twitter exploded. Tech titans publicly rescinded endorsements of Signal Crown. Investors pulled out. Stock in Darius's shell companies plummeted. But Malcolm's final move was poetic. In secret, he had been working with a private equity group, the Black Oak Fund, who admired Malcolm's story and offered backing to expand VIP Black nationwide. Their condition? They wanted Malcolm to acquire not just the building the Illum sat in, but the entire block. And he did. In one silent stroke, Malcolm became the landlord not just of his old club, but of every business Darius had tried to collect like trophies. 2 weeks later, Malcolm arrived at the club on a Friday night. The red carpet was rolled out. Paparazzi lined the street. Celebrities, influencers, and city officials showed up to celebrate the grand reopening of the Illum 2.0, rebranded, redesigned, and more luxurious than ever. Inside, a new glass-walled VIP section bore a powerful message etched in gold: "Dignity is the real access code." Tanya leaned over, whispering, "It's perfect." Reggie grinned, holding a drink. "We didn't just win. We elevated." But the true finale happened in a quiet boardroom weeks later. Darius, looking worn and desperate, sat at a long table across from Malcolm. His lawyers had begged for a settlement meeting after their losses piled up. Darius spoke first, his voice shaky. I didn't think you'd actually do it. I thought it was just a club." "A moment." Malcolm folded his hands. "That's where you were wrong. It was never about a club. It was about respect. And the moment you laughed at me outside that rope, you made it personal." Darius blinked, silent. "So what now?" he asked. Malcolm stood slowly, buttoning his jacket. "Now you sell me the last of your assets. The ones you used to smear me. You write a public apology. And you disappear from this industry." Darius scoffed. "You're still trying to humiliate me?" Malcolm stepped close. "No. I'm showing you mercy." And with that, he slid a final document across the table, a non-compete agreement. Darius stared at it, defeated. That night, Malcolm returned to the Illum. Tanya met him on the rooftop, where the city skyline sparkled like victory. "You okay?" she asked. Malcolm exhaled, smiling. "Better than okay." She took his hand. "You changed everything. For real." He looked out over the city, the wind brushing against him. Sometimes the velvet rope becomes a chain. But sometimes, it's the start of a kingdom. And as music thumped softly below, Malcolm raised his glass high to the stars. No longer the man who had been turned away, but the one who built the door, owned the club, and gave others the key. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that uplift Black voices and expose hidden truths.